To be able to access the online mapping tool, please go to, you'll see here, cityofchino.org/redistricting. And when we click on that, that will take you to the home page. Okay, and so here is, you'll see here the link to the public mapping tools. And there are a couple of different links here. So there's the District R mapping tools right here. We'll go through how to do that. And there's instructions that are here to walk through, and we're going to again walk through this in full detail. And then here is where you'll go, and if you want to see the public gallery and see where all the other maps have been submitted, you'll click on this. So let's go there. Okay, so this takes you to the Chino homepage for the maps, and there's a couple of different points. So the purple box is if you want to draw the districts, you'll click on that. You can also, if there's a particular community that was not included in the communities of interest process, but you'd like to identify, you can click here on this sort of orangish red color box, and that will allow you to draw a community as well. Once maps are submitted, you'll see here, and there's the public gallery, all maps that are submitted will be there. And let's say, for example, you had a map that you half finished, but you said, I want to finish that up later. You can save that half completed map, and that will show up in the works in progress. So everything that gets either submitted as either work in progress or public gallery will all be right here. So let's start and show you how to draw your districts. So when you click on the map, you'll see here a blank map of Chino, and there are a couple of different items here that are associated. So there are three main tabs. Here you'll see, this is your population tab. And again, remember how we talked about the ideal population. So again, that's just taking your total population and dividing that by the number of districts. And you'll see as we start filling in the map, that will show up. We'll get to the evaluation tab. That's something that we use at the end because that only shows data once you actually, and it moves interactively as you fill in your map. And then we have data layers. So there are a couple of different layers here that we can show you. So for example, if you want to see where the current districts are, you can toggle that on and off. And then there are your demographic data. So let's say, for example, you want to see the citizen voting age population for Hispanics. And if you click on show citizen voting age population, it will show you where those are by census block. And again, you can toggle that on and off, and you can leave whatever you have on as you're drawing your map. So let's say, for example, you wanted to see where the Hispanic citizen voting age population was while you're drawing your map, you can leave that toggled on. I'm going to turn that off for now, but we also have some additional demographics. So this comes from what's called the American Community Survey. So when the census gets handed out, every single household gets a census survey. I believe it's 1 in 15 or 1 in 17 residents get what's called the American Community Survey. And that asks for additional data related to things like, do you have children at home? What's your income? What languages are spoken at home? And that's where we get the data here from additional demographics. So for example, you can see things like what percentage of people are high school graduates, what percentage of people are college graduates, income levels, and those types of things. And again, these can be toggled on and off, and you can see again the percentages as you're going. So I will toggle those off for now, and let's draw a map. So there are 4 main tools. This is your zoom in and out. The hand here is your pan tool to go back and forth, and you can zoom in and out or go to a particular area. And then let's say we are ready to draw districts. So you'll click on the paintbrush, and you'll see here that there are 4 different colors and 4 different squares that correspond to the 4 different districts. The active one will turn into a circle. So now I'm going to be drawing the blue district. Okay. And there are a couple of different ways that you can do this. You can either click one by one on your census blocks. And as you can see here, see in your population, as you fill in your district, the population will continue to increase. See, now it goes up to 747. The other thing that you can do too is if you want to fill in larger areas, you can hold your mouse down, and anything that you hover over will add into the district that you have active. Okay, so keep adding those in, and as you can see, the more that you add in, your population continues to go up. Okay, so now let's say, for example, oh, I put too many people into this district and I want to take some of them out. You'll go to the erase tool, and the erase tool does the exact opposite of what you just did. So again, you can either click by census block, or again, you can hold it down, and that will remove the population that you added in. Okay. And you keep doing this for each one of the districts. So let's say, for example, I want this area to be the yellow part of the yellow district. I want some of the area around Chino Airport to be the green district. And again, I'm just showing this for purposes of how to draw. And we're not going to be population balanced here, but and then let's say I want to put some parts in the middle into the olive colored district. Okay, so now we've got 4 districts drawn, and there are a couple of important items to see here. First thing that you'll see here is it will give you what your unassigned population still is. So it'll show you areas that you have not put into a district. So you can see here, I still have 17,576 residents still need to go into a district. That should be, when you're finished with your map, this unassigned population should be 0. And there are going to be a couple of instances here where you'll probably see that there are some very, very small census blocks, and they're easy to miss. So this is an important tool here. You'll see highlight unassigned units. And when you click on that, that shows you some of the areas that you have missed. And let me give you an example. So you can see here, I missed these areas, and you'll see how small some of these census blocks are. For example, the census block here is the freeway, okay? And that's just how the US Census Bureau draws their census blocks. We have no control or no ability to change that. That's how they do it. But when you see that in bright red, it's very easy to see that you missed that. And then you can go in. I want to put that into the teal colored district, and you click on it. and that adds that into your district. Okay. One other thing too that I want to show you before I go to the, two more things that I want to show you on this area before we go over to the evaluation tab. Let's say, for example, I've drawn this area in the green district, but I really want to put it into the yellow district. What you'll do is you'll click on the yellow district, and anything that you click on that is on your active district, which again turns into the circle, will go from whatever district it is, or if it's unassigned, into that new district. So see, for example, this census block right here is currently in the olive district. If I click on it with the orange that's activated, it will put that into the orange district. Okay, and you can again do that vice versa. Say, you know, oh, I really wanted to put that back into the green district. That will work vice versa. An important thing to remember here too, this is a nationwide tool that we use, and some areas determine population deviation differently than the way we do. Here, when it says max population deviation, it gives you the maximum population deviation of the largest district from the ideal. But the important thing to remember again is the way that we need to determine population deviation is the smallest district to the largest district. So remember that when you're, and if we need to go through how to calculate that, I'd be happy to show you that. But remember that that's the deviation that we need to determine when we're processing maps. So again, it's the percentage from the largest district, in this instance would be the green district, to the smallest district would be the orange district. That's how we determine population deviation.
And Jeff, just as a point, we have that center line with the ideal population. So generally, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you get all of those districts to that right around that center line, you should be in pretty good shape.
Yes.
Because you're getting to the ideal population. And also just know the cities, the threshold is a 10% deviation, just as a point, just to keep in the back of your mind as you're drawing these districts.
Yes. Okay, so the last tab that I haven't shown you yet, and it's something that again I needed to fill in the map before I can show you it, is what's called your evaluation tab. And this shows you what your districts are by both total population as well as citizen voting age population. So you can see here, and you can compare this by changing the toggles here to compare different categories. So for example, let's say you want to compare the Hispanic voting age with the African American citizen voting age population. You can change between those and show what each one of your districts are. And again, each one of these shows not the existing districts, they show the way that you've drawn your districts. So it will give you your population percentages and your demographic percentages by the way you've drawn your districts in, and that will change. So for example, if I were to go and change some of these populations here. So for example, if I added in some more into the the orange district here, you'll see that your population numbers and your evaluation will change associated with it. So let's say, for example, I'm ready to submit. This is the map, and I know we still have some unassigned population, but let's say, for example, I've gotten everything down. I've gotten 0 unassigned population. I don't have any red areas that I've missed. Let's assume that's the case. How do I submit my map? You'll click on Save, and you can either share this. If you're absolutely ready to go, you click on Share Now, You'll type in whatever name you want to give to your map and then click Share to Gallery. And you'll see each one of the maps that get submitted has a 5-digit code associated with it. So this one is 91611, and you can go back and reference that, and those will all get put into the public gallery. If you want to, if you say, hey, I haven't, I'm still not sure, or there's some areas that I want to go back to at a later time, you can share this, save this as a work in progress, do the same thing, save as draft, and it will get submitted into the works in progress as I showed earlier. Once a map gets submitted, you can submit as many maps as you want, but once a map, if you hit share now and share to gallery, that map gets locked and can't get changed. But again, you can submit as many maps as you'd like. So I know that that was probably a pretty quick overview. Would be happy to answer any questions that you may have about the process and how particularly the mapping tool works.
Hey, Jeff, just before we jump into questions, if you don't mind, I know we show on the evaluation the districts. There's, when you go to data layers, you can also, not only can you show current districts, but there's also an option that the district number will show up as well. So
Yes.
You see where it says show numbering for painted districts, so at least you can see that. So that's an option as well.
Yep.
And lastly, up there it says lock already drawn districts. In some of the census blocks, it gets kind of tight. If you click that and you already have a district that's completed, if you select that and it's underneath where the brush size is, as you're drawing, it will lock that in so you don't take away a census block from that already drawn district. So there's just a couple features just to think about when you're drawing your maps.
So are there questions? Yes, we'll get the microphone.
How will these maps submitted by citizens be evaluated by the city council or city personnel?
Sure. So the first thing that we as NDC will do is go through and make sure that number one, their population balanced, and also make sure that there's no Federal Voting Rights Act concerns or whatnot. But as long as there's their population balanced and there's no concerns with either the state or federal laws, we will put those as part of the public hearing. So any map that gets submitted, it will be part of the public record. And so usually what we'll do is you'll see a lot of cities, I'll give you an example. We just went through the process of districting for the city of San Dimas. They're on a December 15th deadline, so they've already completed their process here. We received 38 maps in terms of public submissions. Just because we received 38 maps doesn't mean that there's 38 unique maps. A lot of them, you'll have a particular theme. So, keep a central district, 2 north, 2 south, or, north-south districts, east-west districts. What we'll do is, if we start seeing particular themes that show up, we'll group those maps together and say, okay, here are all the north-south districts together. Here are all the east-west districts together, so that the council can say, okay, within those, we've got 3 or 4 different types of themed maps, and here are the variations of those. And then we'll use that to help kind of begin the conversation with how the process will begin.
Thank you.
Other questions?
I'm kind of lost on your racial balance or whatever you want to call it. Because you had downtown as being highly Asian or whatever it was, I believe.
Hispanic.
So you want to keep the groups together is what you're saying? You don't want to split them?
Yes.
Well, then you would have really pretty movable lines is what I'm getting at. You'd go around downtown and put it all in one area instead of having lines. Okay, I got it now.
Yes. So again, that's something that the council has identified as areas that they'd like to keep together. So that's something, again, that could be considered while you're drawing your maps.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at here is a balance in all the districts of populations, of different populations. you're still going to weigh heavy in certain districts versus other districts.
Yes, and that's a good point, and I'm glad you brought that up, because remember the population balance is a higher ranked law than it is for keeping communities of interest together. And I'll give you an example. So let's say for example, you have a community of interest that gets identified, but that community of interest is so large that if you kept that all together, it would throw the population deviation greater than 10%. In that instance, you would say, okay, population balance is a higher ranked criteria than the community of interest is. And so in an instance like that, that would be a time where it would be practicable to split that community of interest. But if there isn't that case, then that's something, again, it's a policy choice for both the general public as well as the city council to consider, to say, okay, is that something that we want to keep together? Would it be most beneficial keeping that district together or keeping that community together in one district for its best representation? Or would it benefit from having multiple representatives? Again, that's a policy choice that we want to get feedback from both you as the general public as well as the city council on, as to, again, how that kind of goes into the decision-making calculus for drawing your districts.
Right, I get that. But wouldn't you be looking at heavily Spanish section with the elected Spanish speakers or whatever? Wouldn't you be segregating at the same time? As if you don't have a racial balance?
So remember, when we look at protected class voting, it's something that we have to consider in the maps. But remember, just because you maybe have, for example, a majority Hispanic seat or a majority Asian American seat, that doesn't guarantee the outcome of the election. It's just,
but you're going to sure market it that way. If you're running for an office, you're going to be sending out Spanish speaking ballots versus non-Spanish speaking ballots.
Again, it's not something that guarantees an outcome of an election.
I'm done.
Other questions about the mapping tool?
Is there anyone online that is interested in asking a question before we move on? I think you're
okay. So that concludes the overview of the mapping tool. And again, we will be looking, if we are going to have maps that we will consider for the third hearing, we would appreciate that if you can get those submitted by January 3rd of next year, so that we have time to process them and we can get those considered in the public hearing in middle of January. So with that, again, I'll hang out for a few more minutes if there are other questions, but that concludes the overview of both the tools and the presentation. And again, appreciate the time this evening.
And I'll just make one last comment on turning it in. Jeff mentioned tagging it as well. This link that you see here as a redundancy measure, just to make sure that we for certain have your map. If you copy that and if you email that to us to districts@cityofchino.org, and that's included on the instructions online as well, then it'll be located in two places and we'll for certain have that. But both options work, but it's just as a redundancy measure. And for the online folks, if you don't have any questions, I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar for now. But if you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to us at districts@cityofchino.org, or you can call us at 909-334-3338.
Thank you.